Welcome to our Best Practice in Accounting podcast with me, Rob Brown, and guest host Will Farnell, founder of Farnell Clarke. Will, for people that don't know you, they're listening. We have listeners all over the world for this show. We love having you on this best practice slot because you actually run an accounting firm. Tell us a little bit about Farnell Clarke.
Thanks, Rob. Nice to be here again. So I founded Farnell Clarke in 2007, having worked for PwC for a number of years before that in efficiency and process improvement. And I had the benefit of not having trained in practice. So I had no preconceptions about how to run an accounting firm. So when I did set up Farnell Clarke, I put myself in the shoes of the client and said, hey, I'm a client here. What's important to me? What are the things that I want if I'm a client of an accounting practice? We were very early adopters of technology. We'll come on to kind of some of the drivers for that, I'm sure, during the conversation we're going to have today. But we were probably one of the first 100% cloud practices globally back in 2009. So technology's played a really big part in our growth as a firm, and we've grown at about 30% year on year every year for about 15 years now.
Wow. Well, it's a great story, and firms big or small, they are very much in demand at the moment because the business clients that they serve are navigating an increasingly complex world with a huge amount of economic drivers and implications of that for growing. So the accounting profession as a whole, Will, it's competitive. It's hard to differentiate. One accounting firm website looks the same as the others. They make similar promises, similar value propositions. They're always warring for the same kind of talent. You're a big proponent, aren't you, of the vision or purpose of an accounting firm is what sets it apart. Just unpack that a bit for us.
Yeah, I think, and it goes wider than accounting firms. Any business needs clarity of who they are, what they do, and how they do it. And it's interesting you made the point about everybody looking the same and so on. And I use that line quite a bit when I'm talking on stage, in terms of, if we go back 25 years, most accountants looked the same, did the same, said the same things, charged about the same, and it was really difficult to differentiate. And actually, the world of the World Wide Web, the ability to be able to create nice looking websites, being able to focus in on niches and various other things, has actually created an opportunity for firms to start to differentiate what they do. So that's kind of a good place to start the conversation. But when I work with accounting firms, generally I get asked to go in because people think they want to talk about process. They think they want to talk about technology because they're the things that we've done quite well in our firm. But almost without fail, without exception, almost every firm I go into, we end up spending most of our time talking about purpose, vision, values, and pricing. Pretty much two topics that seem to affect the vast majority of certainly small accounting firms. But we're going to talk about the purpose, vision, and values piece, because 15 years into my business, I look back now at the things that have had the biggest impact on what we've been able to do as a firm. And quite frustratingly, it's probably only in the last 3 or 4 years that I've actually been able to understand the power of purpose. And what I mean by that is how powerful it was that on the day that I opened the doors to Farnell Clarke, I knew exactly what it was I was trying to do. And it was quite grandiose, because I went in and said, I think that most accountants are not delivering what clients deserve. They're not delivering the level of services I think they should be getting. So I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change the way professional services are delivered and how those services are perceived by the users of those services. So I wanted to single-handedly change professional services, and I wanted people to have a different perception about those services they were buying and engaging with. And actually, I think that's the start point for this conversation, because when we talk about purpose beyond vision, it's actually about something that, it doesn't matter if you never, ever achieve it, but actually the desire to want to achieve it and the clarity around what it is you want to deliver is the thing that drives you along. And when I look back at the various decisions that I've made as we've grown Farnell Clarke, so much of it is directly attributable to that that vision and that purpose on day one, in terms of, look, we really want to change the way these services are delivered. We did that through technology. We did it through the way we priced our services very early on. We even did it down to the fact that in 2007, most accountants still wore a shirt and tie, certainly the male ones. And we made that conscious decision on day one. That wasn't who we were. That wasn't what we were about. So that power of purpose has driven so many decisions that we've made as a business for the last 15 years. And it's only very recently that I've been able to connect a lot of those decisions back to that purpose, because we didn't plaster it on a wall or anything else. It was just something that was very kind of embedded in me and what I was trying to do, and the way that I portrayed the business to both clients and people that came to work for us.
And you did a piece for our Insights in Accounting show a few weeks ago. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. And you talked about the power of purpose and vision for accounting firms. So we stated there, and we picked up on an article on this, that it is important. But when we come to best practice, there are do's and don'ts for setting a vision and getting your purpose and your passion, your mission statement in place. So for firms that haven't, or firms that haven't, maybe need to recalibrate their vision, what are the initial steps, Will?
I think it's certainly for smaller firms, it's got to be really personal to the business owner, because it's their tone, it's their attitudes.
It's their baby, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And funnily enough, I hadn't made this connection before we started to record this, but Gary Turner, ex head of Xero in the UK, departed Xero after 12 years or so at the helm of building the UK business. And Gary's writing a regular weekly feature, and he actually wrote an article that he published today that was all about the kind of the vision and the values and the way that Xero kind of embedded its values into all of its team, and Gary's role, particularly in terms of once a month meeting with all of the new joiners into Xero and spending an hour talking about where their values came from and how important they were. So perhaps I can share that link with you, Rob, as well, and we can put that in the show notes. It's a really interesting article that really demonstrates the importance of this stuff, when it's really easy to kind of just pass it off as kind of management mumbo jumbo or whatever. It's really,
we've got the importance, Will, but what are the practical steps? What works?
So I think, as we said, it's got to be close to the owner. If you already have an established team, then your team have got to buy into it as well. So you've got to get your team engaged in this process. It's no good having values that you stick on the wall and never refer to them. So often when I'm working with firms, everybody knows what their vision is. They know why they're doing what they do, but they struggle to articulate it. So sometimes it's perhaps bringing somebody in to facilitate that conversation, to turn it into something that's meaningful and has a clarity around it that everybody can buy into and share. And
so
often,
you're talking about maybe two people there, Will. For me, it's having that objective, impartial voice to ask the critical questions and give some perspective on a brand that perhaps the owners and board are too close to. But the other is maybe some kind of marketing or copywriting expert to encapsulate that in the right kind of language. That's two jobs.
To a point. I think it's really dangerous when we start getting marketing people to come and write a vision, because it's got to come from the people who live and breathe it.
Got it.
It's really easy to see this as a marketing exercise, and if you do, you're kind of almost missing the point. So what I often say to firms is that actually you will be living your vision and your values already. So actually the thing to do is to ask the question to your best clients, ask the question to your best employees in terms of, if you could describe our business in 3 words, what would they be? Right. Because we start to get a real sense then of the perception that we're projecting to those people that we're engaging with, that we want to engage with, because they're our favorite clients, that are clients we really like, the clients we want to work with, the employees that we really value. So getting their insights into thinking about how they'd describe us, because the values thing is certainly again in smaller firms where it's the owner, that the business owner that's driving it, so much of it is their personal values, and it's them having the belief in the things that they're trying to do, whatever that might be. So they're doing this stuff naturally anyway. So this is the point, that the articulation is the hard bit, and actually where we can get benefit from facilitation is exactly that. So it's about facilitating the dialogue to get the business owner, the team or whatever, to articulate the things that are really important to them. And then it's taking those, and perhaps then that's the time to say, okay, let's get people that can take this and put it into language that we can use effectively, without changing the message, because that's the last thing we want to do.
So you're talking about the smaller firms, Will, where there is an owner, there is a driving force, a personal brand behind the corporate brand, so they can dictate the vision of the firm. And asking clients, I completely get that. Once you get to a bigger firm, 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people, presumably articulating some kind of common vision that everyone buys into, that's more complex.
Absolutely. The more people there are, the harder it gets, because so much is ingrained already in the business, and we know change is difficult. And actually, so much of an organization's culture is embedded in attitudes, behaviors, personalities. So getting that to change is really hard. But then equally, so much of culture is unwritten anyway. So actually, some of that stuff will already exist. It's understanding what are the bits of that are really valuable that you want to keep and amplify, and what are the bits that you want to kind of turn the volume down and almost make them disappear. And the more people you've got, the more important it is that you kind of get team members engaged in the process, because getting people to adopt and buy into what are fundamentally significant behaviors that an organization wants to demonstrate becomes really, really difficult. And even in accounting with multi-partner firms, I talk about the need for firms to develop a personality that can be relatable to everybody, because you get 10 partners in a firm, they've all got different personalities. So how do we get that consistency into a firm personality that goes beyond just a brand?
It's almost like a football team and a way of playing, or an identity as a team. So presumably a red flag, Will, would be that if you ask your clients to describe your firm in 3 words and they can't come up with anything, that's a problem. Equally, if you asked your own employees, your own staff, to say what 3 words describe what it's like to work in our firm, that you're the employer brand, if they can't consistently articulate that, or they're all giving different answers, you've got a confusing vision.
Yes, and a very confused message. And this is a problem. We know that research that's been done into millennial, Gen Z, who are ultimately, if not our clients of now, certainly our clients of the not too distant future. So many of those buying decisions are built around an alignment of values with the organizations they engage with. So if we can't articulate those vision and values within our own organization, and our team don't understand them, we've got no hope of kind of helping prospective clients really understand what it is we're striving to do, what we live for as an organization. So it's becoming much more important for firms to really understand this point and build it into their external messaging, both for recruitment and for clients, of course.
And I guess as we bring this to a close, 2 words have to come up in your vision somewhere. One is clients and the other is technology, because those are the 2 key ways I can see to differentiate your firm and your vision. Would you agree?
To a point. I mean, people have got to be in there as well, because obviously we don't have a business without people in what we do. So it's why for me technology and people and client is kind of all wrapped into one. And actually we're using this as a point of difference, and in our purpose, our vision is something slightly different to our purpose, but the purpose for me was about fundamentally changing the way professional services are delivered. Now, that would have been about delivering better for the client, using technology to deliver in the most efficient way, having the best people looking after those clients. So it's all wrapped in, but they don't need to be the buzzwords in it. It's actually about what is it we're trying to do as a business? What is it what big thing do we want to change in the world? Whether or not we ever actually do it doesn't matter, as long as we have a damn good go and try really hard to do so.
What's the vision of Farnell Clarke, Will?
So at the moment, our vision is to be number one digital native accounting business in the UK. And our purpose is still there. So our purpose is still about, we want to fundamentally change the way professional services are delivered. And we constantly evolve what we do as a business to make sure that we're pushing boundaries and that we are looking at what we deliver to our clients and saying, how can we do it better every day of the week?
That's great. Plenty to think about there. And if you are employed in an accounting firm and you are not sure of the vision of the firm, then definitely they haven't got a vision, or they have got a vision that you're not bought into or unaware of. So ask and find out what's going on, and if necessary, shape that discussion, because it is a great way to set your firm apart and assure your future in a very competitive landscape. So Will Farnell, thank you for being our guest host today on Best Practice in Accounting.